Today we're going to look at the new Stanley Wildfare Core full serve cook set, compare it to its predecessor, the Adventure Base Camp, check out what's changed, what stayed the same, and see if it can truly cook a meal for a family of 4. Coming up, let's dive into a comparison, taking a look at these side by side. This is my well-used Stanley Adventure Base Camp cook set, as well as the new Wildfare Core full cook set. This unit right here has been my go-to for years. I use it multiple times a week, cooking lunch at work out of the back of my car, and this one is basically the new version of it. Out of the gate, they're very similar, but there are some differences, upgrades, and trade-offs to the two models that we're going to get into next. Hey, real quick, I decided at the end of this month, I'm going to give away this Wildfare Core full-serve cook set from Stanley. All you got to do to be entered in is follow the link below, join the email list. At the end of the month, I'll throw your email into a random generator, and whoever it lands on will get this cook set. I'll clean it really well, send it off to you. You'll be psyched. All right, back to the video. I believe I have both of these models fully closed up and stacked in the way that it recommends from the factory. Side by side, you can see the handle on the new model, I just noticed, sits slightly higher than the handle on the old model. And that is because this is a 4-quart pot capacity, and this one is a 3.7 pot capacity. And that tells me that this is not just a rebranding from a previous model to a new model where they've stamped a new name on it. Don't mind my black handle here. There's still some red on this guy. I was doing a heat-resistant, like, coating test with Flex Seal and rubberized something or other. Plasti Dip was the other one. That one came off. Speaking of that, the handles on these things are pretty much identical, both spot welded on in 4 locations. This one has the Stanley logo stamped into the front of it, while this one has it laser etched. And on the back, they have the water gradation stamped here, and that does transfer to the inside of the pan for measuring out liquids. They basically have the same measurement lines for 1 and 3 liters on each one, and then the standard American metrics range from ounces on the old model to quarts on the new model. Quarts makes more sense to me. Seemingly, they both have identically functioning lids. They've got the multiple drain spouts here for like straining out liquids or whatever, and then the little steam release one at the bottom. And they both have the same style bungee strap that tensions the lid down and keeps everything from rattling around too much. On the outside, other than this one obviously being slightly taller given its larger capacity, you do see the same beveled edge here that I'm assuming is mostly used for like rigidity and building a little structural integrity into these things. But the bottom construction on both of these is, I mean, identical from what I can tell. Now we'll give this a little shakedown test on each one of them. I'm putting it right up by my microphone here, and this guy, honestly, definitely louder, but not obnoxiously. And that really comes into play when you're traveling down the road and you just got all that gear loaded up in the back of your vehicle that could potentially be rattling around making noise. You do want to mitigate that as much as possible, and you can do that by making sure all your gear is really securely strapped down. But some of the things like these that are metal on metal nested together, there's only so much you can do. So primarily I drive a 1st gen Tundra, so most of my gear is in the very back of the truck, not much of an issue. But I'm building out the 1st generation Sequoia right now, which puts all of your gear, for the most part, in the cab space with you driving down the road. So noise mitigation is a significant consideration for the gear and how I'm going to be placing it in the vehicle. All right, let's dive into both of them. Now on the top of both of these lids, you have a laser etched diagram of how you should be stacking everything in this. Probably mostly for that noise mitigation aspect of it, and so it all fits in there. Both fry pans sit inverted right at the top there. The clasping mechanism on the old one versus the new one's slightly deeper, slightly thicker. Maybe that helps with it not wanting to slide around as much. I'll have to test it out and see if that does. Pretty similar to the same designs there. Both of these handles deploy in a pretty ingenious way. You slide this outward to take the tension off the handle, flip it out, push it back in, and that's what locks it into place. Do it with this guy too. So both of these are listed as 8-inch fry pans, identical on the quarts and everything, 32 ounces. Other than this one being well loved and well used, and this one being brand new and shiny, they look pretty dang identical to me. Yeah, I don't know if these really change much at all other than the size of this little clasp. And one of the only concerns that I ever came across with my Legacy set was this little slider here slides pretty freely. And if it was to slide back on you when you're cooking something hot and you give those handle a little bit of a squeeze, it can easily collapse on you. I don't know if it's just that this one's new or if they've done something with it a little bit differently, but this one is much more rigid in there, right? It grasps a little bit more. So to my knowledge, these are identical pans, and they both have that 3-ply base, which is an aluminum base skirted on either side by stainless steel, just giving you a really, really awesome even heat to it. We're gonna set this aside for a second and get into some utensil action. Spoons, spatulas, bases. All right, so the old style are like a clasp that you had on your backpack or your little chest strap or something like that. 2 pins on the side, press them in, it separates. It's just a really ingenious way they've made these so compact. And honestly, I've used both of these quite a bit and they look damn near brand new. And they're pretty structurally sound. They really can do some work for you. Now they went with a new way to secure these together. It's kind of like this little spring activated push button thing right there. Slots in, locks in place, and then you just release it by pressing the button inside there. That being said, they seem to be equally, if not more, kind of rigid and resilient. I think structurally the new ones are slightly stronger because they're kind of like hollowed out, where these are just a solid chunk of plastic, and that just gives them a lot more strength to it. And also the plastic from the head seats deeper into the channel of the handle, so that probably helps as well. Either way, I think they're both worth having in the kit. The bowls. 4 bowls per kit, both sets nest together, and that's about where their similarities end. They are completely redesigned from the old model to the new model. The old model has your Stanley information, patent information stamped on the bottom. It also mirrors the lid's kind of diagram of how everything gets stacked in the container, which I kind of like. The new model doesn't. It has a 22-ounce delineation, so these bowls are designed to hold 22 ounces. And conversely, when we look at the new design, it's just got the Stanley logo kind of stamped down there. It says 16 ounces, and it doesn't have the stacking instructions. I don't know if they're made of the same material. They probably are, but the newer one has kind of like a glossy finish to the inside of it and everything, which I do kind of like. It's got kind of a mirror look to it. The old one's just kind of a matte gray. Much more tapered edge from the old one to the new one. The new one's a lot more vertical. I mean, it's definitely smaller. That's where you lose that 6 ounces of additional capacity from this one to the new one. I like the higher edges to it. I think mixing eggs or whatever, if you're using these as prep tools, is kind of nicer. Takes up a little bit less space on a camping table that might be, you know, overcrowded as it is. I think they're good, decent bowls. You can't go wrong with either one, but I kind of do give the nod to the new design. Let's look at plates. Kind of a similar story, okay? They all nest together. The plates are a little bit bigger with the new model than the old one. The old guys have kind of a similar lipped edge to it as the bowls do, and that makes sense because they nest like that, so they line up completely. While these ones have, again, a more vertical edge. These one does have the glossy finish on it, while these ones are kind of that matte. Really nothing super significantly different on how they perform from one to the other that I can see. Now, I use my bowls a fair amount, but I don't use my plates very often to eat off, and there's a couple of reasons behind that. They're pretty dang small, but I use them for a lot of food prep. Like if I need to set some food down somewhere, I'll whip out the plates and, you know, put a pile of vegetables or put a steak to rest or something like that on here. So it's keeping my work area clean. Nice to have in the kit, wouldn't cut them out. I'm kind of over the plastic in your plates world because I'll eat steak, I'll eat things that need to be cut up while I'm eating it. You put any sort of blade to this material, it really does just kind of instantly cut into it. Yeah, you're eating plastic at that point, little chunks falling off, but also it's a bad place for bacterial growth. So I just tend to stay away from it. Now, that's not to say anything bad about this. It's a kit that's designed to be kind of full, turnkey, well-rounded for somebody to get started, but that's just something I don't do anymore, is cut on plastic as much as possible. I get away from that. And Stanley actually has a solution for that I love. So when they sent me these kits, they sent me a couple of different things. They sent me these stainless steel bowls, which are stainless on the inside, like a powder coated, awesome just finish to the outside, nice texture to them. I love these bowls. Pretty similar form factor to the plastic bowls. They're a little taller, rolled lip edge. You can buy these bowls separately on their website. The plates, I've been rocking these plates as my kids' eating plates for months. Stainless steel on the top, texturized coating on the bottom. They're probably about 1 inch bigger than what the kit comes with. I just think it's so awesome that they're setting you up with a kit that has absolutely everything in it your family will need to get going, but also designing elements that you can choose to take and run with and maybe upgrade your experience if you see fit. We're gonna get into the cutlery next. So you get 4 of these sporks with your kit. I've used them a ton, but the new kit ditches the spork for a double-sided utensil. These are pretty cool. They split in half to be able to carry them. They nest together by this little slot and tab situation you got going on there. Anyway, you pull them apart, similar little clasp mechanism with that button. There you go. That's a super awesome eating utensil. Your old spork's about 6 inches. Length on this guy is just under 8.5. So if you are eating those dehydrated meals, those freeze-dried meals and everything, it is always nice to be able to reach pretty deep inside those bags. You have your round cutting board, and I pretty much strictly use this nowadays for cutting up lime. You throw it on top of the trivet, and that stops your cutting board from wanting to slide around on you. Yeah, nothing wrong about it whatsoever. This is kind of a unique thing that I don't know why they didn't do it in the new model, outside of maybe it just wasn't deemed necessary. Maybe people weren't using it enough. I've used it quite a bit, but what this thing is, other than like a carrying case, this is a drying rack for all of your bowls and plates. I don't think I've ever seen any other camping cook kit that has something like that. Pretty nifty. It's pretty cool. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not hurt that it's not in the new kit, but it's kind of a cool little thing. The new Wildfare line also has a cool take on the cutting board trivet setup. On one side, it has this trivet in there, and then on the other side, it has a cutting board. Just like this guy is separated here, and it'll help things not slide around. You take this guy, put it down, it stays put, right? What you can do is you take this off. So it's got this recessed molded little lip around the inside there, allows it to clip onto the outside other piece. So you can take this off and use it in the same way that you use this one. So that's really everything that goes into those kits. What we're gonna do next, stack them up backward to how they go in there. Trivet in there, spoon says the bowl's got on the bottom. Take apart your handle, take apart your other, close it up. I usually tension that back down to lower it in there and line it up, whatever. Put that back on, and you're good to go. You got the pot, got your bowls, scatter. I don't want so it gets folded up in there. Allows you your lid on. What I did say I was going to do is check if some of the stainless steel bowls and plates will fit in here versus this. Holy crap. Plate. That fits in so well, there's no way it's not designed to do that. That's perfect. It fits right in the base there. It's sitting on that rubberized trivet. It's literally making almost no sound side to side, and you could easily fit 4 of them in the same space. You do these. You could swap in those if you're not a fan of the plastic. Now, I do have 2 of these bowls. So being that these are steel and they don't have to have as much of the plastic girth of these, I think they're actually going to nest smaller. This might not be any quieter. I mean, you're putting more metal in something, but yeah. That's fairly loud, but to be honest, throwing a couple of your own little trivets in there, or a towel or whatever it is, where it makes sense, will cut down on the noise drastically. That's not a reason to not do this. Stanley, you should sell a pro version of this where you include all stainless steel hardware for everything as a premium offering. Now remember, I'm doing a giveaway on this exact Stanley Wildfare core set that I have after I'm done running it through its paces. So if you want to get a chance at winning this bad boy at the end of the month, follow the link below for more details. I haven't decided the exact day that entries are going to end, but I'm thinking it's going to be basically the 31st of this month. Okay, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not sitting in my garage doing some cooking. Today on the menu, we're gonna do a steak beef stroganoff along with some toasted sourdough and some steamed broccoli. Let's see if the Stanley Wildcore full serve cook set is capable of cooking up a meal to feed a family of 4. I'm gonna utilize the plastic cutting board with the trivet on the underside that comes with the kit. All right, there we go. There's most of our ingredients. I always build little pot cozies for every cooking kit that I have, so if I finish up a meal, I can throw it in the pot cozy, and it just helps maintain some of that heat while other things are finishing. scrape the bottom of this pan lightly to get as much of the brown bit goodness off of it that I can. Traditionally use an egg noodle for this. My son is allergic to eggs, so we use Bonza pasta. I like simple, so I'm gonna steam a little bit of broccoli, implementing just one little basket accessory. Time to incorporate that steak back into it. There's the stroganoff. I would say that's absolutely a success with, quite a bit more to spare there. All right, there you have it. That pretty much settles it. The Stanley Wildfare Core full cook set absolutely can cook a meal for a family of 4. It's pretty much everything that you need and nothing that you don't. Compares very similarly to the previous Adventure Base Camp models. Some slight upgrades in my opinion, and just an all-around great cook kit. Definitely consider it if you're out there looking for a cook kit of your own. Below in the description section of this video, you will find the link to the email list where you can follow that over, see the details on how to enter to win this exact kit I just cooked with. Promise I'll clean it up as best as I can. Entries are gonna go until basically midnight Pacific time on January 31st, and then I'll randomly select a winner probably by the first week of February and get you out your new cook set. I'm gonna be launching something in a couple of weeks that I'm super excited about. Definitely would appreciate you guys following along. Have a good day.